医生就出来跟我宣布，我父亲死亡了，有一种特别愤怒的感觉。很多人丢掉了宝贵的生命，为什么这样？是谁导致这个人间的这个大灾难的？
Stay calm. The virus is crazy. We don't want to be crazy. Calm down.
I have no doubt that the scientists and doctors who are on the front lines knew exactly what they were dealing with.
The person sent a red light flash to the boss of the company, and the boss says, "This is serious."
It seemed absolutely ridiculous that we couldn't release the data.
Viral pneumonia has hit central China's Wuhan city.
The impression that the rest of the world got was just what the Chinese authorities wanted, which is that everything was under control, which of course it wasn't.
It was always going to be very difficult to control this virus from day one. But that was the shot we had, and we lost it.
First case here of a severe flu-like illness, which experts say is a worldwide threat to health.
Pneumonia-type bug first appeared in Guangdong province. Officials there saying the outbreak is under control.
World Health Organization has identified the virus behind a severe outbreak of pneumonia.
The story does start with SARS, and it began with the lack of transparency from China.
In November 2002, an outbreak of severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, began in southern China. The virus is thought to have passed from a bat into a civet cat and into humans at a market. It then spread quickly through southern China's crowded factory cities.
Doctors identified that something unusual happening, reported it to the local public health authorities. It took weeks and months, for them to take decisive action.
China's authoritarian government maintained everything was under control.
The immediate response of the Chinese government was literally to lie and dissemble. And that caused total confusion for the rest of the world as this epidemic began to ignite.
5 months into the outbreak, a Beijing doctor exposed what was really going on. He revealed there were many more cases than the government was letting on. The central government in Beijing now admitted the scope of the problem.
SARS has come to North America.
1,000 people have been quarantined in Hong Kong.
2 dead in Canada and 6 cases in Europe.
By this time, SARS had spread around the world and would cause almost 800 deaths. In China, news of the cover-up caused outrage.
Chinese people became very concerned, but also angry that the government is not telling them the truth.
There were stories of kind of people like rising up and mistrusting information. damage to reputation of the party states domestically and internationally was very heavy. It was felt.
SARS was deadly, but not highly transmissible for the general population. Within 8 months, the outbreak was contained.
It was widely seen that the delay by China in reporting and actually responding was absolutely the reason why we weren't able to nip it in the bud. And so the narrative in the global health world was China did learn a lesson. They would be better next time, and that they would be much more responsive and transparent.
Beijing set about making sure that SARS could not happen again. The following year, it began creating what it claimed was the largest online infectious diseases reporting system in the world. Run from a new Center for Disease Control, China's CDC.
I helped them develop the national CDC. The CDC that I first visited was in disrepair. That's completely changed. And what they did was they created these various programs. It was 100 talents, 1,000 talents, so that people who had been trained in other parts of the world were recruited back to China to contribute to the establishment of new infrastructure for infectious disease surveillance.
One of those recruits was George Gao, a virologist at Oxford University. He became the head of the China CDC in 2017.
Let me tell you how we organize the disease control and public health in China. Surveillance. We have the general centralized data center. It's in China CDC. I will know within hours whether or not we have an outbreak, even in a small village.
By 2019, Gao was promising that the country's new online surveillance system would be able to prevent another outbreak like SARS.
So they were indeed confident, right, that they had the capacity to handle well a major disease outbreak. Should it happen, right, that they would be able to nip the crisis in the bud.
On the 1st of December 2019, a man in his 70s fell ill. He was admitted to a hospital in Wuhan, a vast industrial city and the transport hub of central China. Unbeknownst to anyone at the time, by December the 11th, up to 200 people were likely infected with the coronavirus. Most were carrying on their normal lives, with very mild symptoms, or none at all. Many of the cases would be traced to a sprawling live animal market, which supplied the city's restaurants and food shops.
Colleagues at the Wuhan CDC, the Wuhan Center for Disease Control, 2014, took me there really to say, look, look at this place. This is the kind of place where emerging microbes may appear. And I took lots of photographs because they are quite jarring. There were snakes, cats, raccoon, dog, and they were sometimes in individual cages on the floor and sometimes stacked on top of each other.
It's not known whether the market was where the virus first made the leap from animals to humans. But by mid-December, several people were turning up at nearby hospitals. Doctors noticed a pattern: strange white spots in patients' lung scans.
Doctors put two and two together that if you're in a hospital and you see one pneumonia patient, or even two, you may not think anything untoward's happening. But the fact that they were seeing in different locations meant that that cluster meant there was an infectious agent going around.
Three weeks after the first illnesses emerged, doctors at Wuhan Central Hospital took a sample from a patient's lungs. They sent it to Vision Medicals, a private company 500 miles away. Within 48 hours, the company had come up with a short genetic sequence of the virus. A technician at the lab later posted an online account of what happened next. Virologist Wang Linfa read the post before it was deleted from the internet.
The report back on December 26 is to say, oh my God, these patients' samples contain genetic sequence most related to bat coronavirus.
The technician then contacted his boss privately over the messaging app WeChat. Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses, which include SARS and the common cold. The sequence from Wuhan hadn't been seen before, but it was strikingly similar to SARS.
The person who operated that machine and did the analysis basically sent a red light flash to the boss of the company. And the boss says, this is serious. Don't send the report out until you're 100% sure. And a few hours later, basically says, I'm 100% sure. This is real.
The lab informed doctors at the hospital and the Wuhan CDC. They also sent the sequence results to the state-run Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences in Beijing. By the 30th of December, word of a new SARS-like virus had started to spread among officials in Wuhan and Beijing. Several more samples were sent to state labs for sequencing. The genetic sequences weren't shared with the international community.
So the sequence of a pathogen is really important because that is what allows people to figure out how quickly the pathogen is spreading. And to be able to create tests to detect the virus is really crucial information for health authorities in other countries to start detecting this virus. You know, where is it going? Is it going to go outside of China? Is it going to become a pandemic? Is it human-to-human transmissible? Of course, you don't want to rush out some information that could potentially be false and, you know, make everyone think that, oh, this is some other kind of pathogen and somehow misinform people.
A month after the first cases emerged, hospitals in Wuhan were receiving dozens of patients with severe pneumonia. Wuhan's 11 million people were still going about their lives as normal, spreading the virus around the city and to the rest of China. A Beijing-based lab, Capital Biotech, then sent Wuhan Central Hospital the startling results from a sample they'd analysed. This lab had obtained a different result from the previous one. Rather than a virus similar to SARS, they said it was SARS itself. It would turn out the lab had made a mistake, but the results quickly started circulating among doctors at Wuhan Central Hospital.
This was the first time that the information about the possibility of this virus was shared. This was the first time there was documentation, there was evidence that something is really happening, and that's being shared publicly. WeChat groups are like little discussion circles. It could be hundreds of people in one group. And it's very, very easy for information to spread, and it spreads like fire.
At around 5:30 p.m, it reached Li Wenliang, an eye doctor. He forwarded it on with a warning. Don't circulate this information outside the group. Tell your family and loved ones to take precautions. His message went viral. Within 24 hours, millions of people across China were talking online about SARS.